Hey guys, welcome back to Electrical Car Repair Live. Thank you guys for watching and subscribing to the channel. Today will be super helpful video guys to any of you having a Kia Sportage, Kia Sorento with a 2.4 GDI engine and you need to remove or replace cylinder head gasket. Stay with us, we'll explain guys how to do that, everything from start to finish. Now it's a complicated procedure, it takes quite a bit of time, be prepared, it will be a long video but very detailed that can save you thousands of dollars guys. So we will explain how to remove cylinder head or in case you need to replace it, or how to remove and replace cylinder head gasket guys. That should work, as I said, on 2.4 GDI engine. If you guys need to buy any parts, tools, new head, new bolts, new head gasket, we'll put the link in the description of the video below where you will get all our tools and parts from for a really good price and quick shipping as well. Check it out. As you know, every single car we get at the garage, we try to make at least 200 to 300 free repair videos. Why we do that? Simply because our mission in the shop is to save you as much money as we can guys. All we need in return, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let's start on that process, bear with us, it will take quite a bit of time, but we will show you how to do everything. So right here, okay, that's the engine that we have. Now, the only thing guys that will differ, we actually move the radiators a little bit so we can have a little bit more room to show you things, okay, and where you have a few hidden bolts. Number one step, remove your upper engine cover. Okay, once you remove the upper engine cover, we can continue with the next step, which is guys, okay, that intake manifold. First, you're going to have that intake hose that will be connected to the air filter box. On the Kia Sorento will be towards the back, on the Kia Sportage will be towards the front, but what you have to do, disconnect, okay, the hose by getting that clamp loose, okay, and pull it out. We have the same clamp on the throttle body, so we need to do that one there as well. Let's go ahead, do that. 10mm socket, we just get the hose clamp loose. Right here you need to disconnect that hose as well. There is one clamp, go ahead, grab it, pull it out. Perfect. Next step guys, we need to get a 10mm socket. We need to remove, okay, these 3 bolts here for the wiring harness, okay, and right here, okay, before we do that, let's explain now. We can go ahead and remove the throttle body, okay, from the intake manifold, because if you remove the hoses you have coolant, which means that you have to drain the cooling system. So what we will recommend, unless your cooling system is drained, go ahead and remove the throttle body from the intake manifold. So 4 screws attach the throttle body to the intake manifold guys. That way we don't need to disconnect the hoses for the coolant. Okay, and now we can grab it. Okay, careful, those screws will fall. The wire, okay, is the one that's in the way, but that's fine, we can just leave it like that. Okay. Perfect, you can see this is inlet outlet hose here, 2 coolant hoses. Now, okay, that's free. What else we got here now guys? Let's go ahead and remove, okay, these 3 bolts here on top. That way we can release our wiring harness. Now you have an opportunity not to remove the bolts, so all we can do is push that tooth out and lift up and you can disconnect the wiring harness that way if you want to. If you're afraid you're going to break it, you can just go ahead and remove them here with a 10mm. There is one wire that goes to the exhaust variable timing solenoid, so go ahead, remove that one. Perfect. Okay, it's going to come this way now, and we have one for the intake variable timing solenoid here, so pull that one as well. Right here guys, okay, we'll have one, okay, one mount with 2 bolts that we need to remove with 10mm socket again. So let's go ahead, do that one now. Okay, perfect. Now we have one more. Great. And I think this is for the knock sensor. Now right here we have one clamp that we can actually, okay, you can get pliers. If, okay, we can get a prying tool. If you squish those 2 things on the bottom side, they can actually, okay, it can actually come out easier. Okay, perfect. Just like that. Now here we have another one. Ours is broken. that's going down, and here we have one more bolt that we pre-loosen here, guys. Okay, so we don't waste your time. That one will pre-loosen. Okay, it comes to the side. Now right here, map sensor, disconnect that one. Okay, let's disconnect the intake camshaft position sensor, so we have all that room. Here you will need to disconnect two hoses, one here from the over here, we can do it from right here. This is vacuum line, okay, and one underneath here for the purge control valve. Perfect. Now right here we'll need to disconnect, guys. Okay, we have things pre-loosened, not to waste your time. One bolt, okay, you have right here that accidentally dropped. I'll leave it here so we don't lose it. One nut, you will need to do that for that mount there. That way we can pull that vacuum hose towards the back and pull it out, otherwise it's not going to come out. Okay, now if it comes out of here, okay, it's almost out. Okay, that one came out. Now the purge control valve hose needs to come out as well. Okay, perfect. Now let's see what else we got. Underneath, guys, we have a few bolts hidden now, okay, that we need to remove for the intake manifold. So right here, if you look underneath, you have one bracket that we can clearly show you now. This bracket, it has two bolts with a 12mm socket. Okay, that we might need an extension in order to remove them. I'll try to pull the radiators a little bit out. Okay, perfect. One is out. Now another one there. Second one. Great. Alright, we'll get the socket in a second. Now let's see right here. Okay, I'm going to grab the socket. We should be clear now. What we need to do now, guys, let's remove the bolts first on the bottom. Okay, we have one bolt in the corner there. We have one bolt hidden right here in the middle. So, okay, if I get the light in, I can actually see it. Clearly, and I think this extension will be short. Yep. We need to get a little bit longer extension. This one will not fit there. So let's see now. You just straight. Right there, the bolt may not come out, that's fine. We have one more bolt. Okay, right there in the corner. Perfect. This one I will be able to pull out. It's very important not to drop anything in your valves when you remove it. We need to pull the dipstick out. Okay, great. And we have two nuts on top now. One, two. At that point we probably should not have almost anything holding here. Okay, right there, the wire for the intake runner solenoid. Disconnect that one. Okay, now that nut I get stuck there. Okay, perfect. Now if we actually grab that, okay, one second, that intake manifold, it should probably come out. It may be stuck here on the, in a little bit you will see on the dipstick tube. Okay, and we need to disconnect the PCV valve. Just come in an angle. Okay, comes out, and oh, careful that bolt not to fall inside. There's a bolt in the middle, and it fell in the intake manifold. We need to put it sideways. Okay, right there. Now the gasket, guys, itself, if you need to, every time you remove the intake manifold, it's recommended to put a new gasket because they flattened. You just grab that gasket, guys. Okay, we need to, let's get a screwdriver or something, so we can show you guys how to remove it. But that it's a little bit stuck. I'll hold it here. It's time to replace all the vacuum lines, in my opinion, if you have a higher mileage car, because those here can crack, and you can see you don't even know about those things. So now go ahead, remove the intake manifold gasket, clean everything really good, and you can install the new one. I'll put the links, we'll put the links in the description of the video below, where you can get all the gaskets and all that stuff. So this right here, guys, is a 2.4 GDI engine. We have it out of the vehicle with the cooling system, everything the way it comes from the vehicle, so we can clearly show with great detail, okay, what we're going to do, and we'll be having videos about rebuilding that engine and fixing almost anything on it. For any of you that ask me, guys, in the comment section below, recently we've been getting quite a bit of response, comments to what do we recommend for diagnostics on these modern vehicles. That's the one that we use daily, guys. It works on Kia and almost any car you can think of. Okay, let me just exit and I will show you right here. It's amazing too, that can pay itself off in one-time use. Check out the link in the description of the video below if you want to check the current price and the functions. Number one, we need to remove the upper engine cover. Grab and pull it out. It attaches, okay, to these 4 posts right here. What do you need to do next, guys? Okay, in order to remove the upper valve cover, you will need to disconnect your car battery. Let's explain why. Because you'll be dealing with the fuel pump here as well. You need to remove the high pressure fuel pump. So disconnecting the car battery can reduce the risk of catching your vehicle on fire. Also work on the engine when it's completely cold. On these modern cars, it matters which battery terminal you disconnect and reconnect first. If you do it wrong, you can cause damage to the engine computer and the electrical system. So if you don't know which battery terminal to disconnect first, we have a special video that explains that, and we'll put the link in the description of the video below. Once you do that, okay, we're going to disconnect the vacuum hose coming out of the valve cover, okay, right here. Perfect. Another one, okay, that we have, okay, we need to disconnect the PCV hose right here. Great. Next, you have the fuel line right here, the low pressure fuel line. If you don't know how to disconnect it, we have a special video that explains that on World Mechanics, how to disconnect fuel line. For the high pressure fuel line, 3/4 inch wrench, you'll be under pressure. Always wear gloves and eye protection. Why we don't ask, guys, but you should. Okay, disconnect that. Okay, you disconnect that fuel volume sensor right here. Okay, great, just like that. And what you need to do now, okay, 10mm socket, and we need to slowly remove the pump a little bit on each side. You grab that fuel pump and it comes out. I recommend to inspect your tappet right here, the cam follower, because that's a weak spot on those sometimes, and that can develop an engine noise and rattle as well. So we'll get it out, okay, to inspect it later. Next, we need to disconnect that wiring harness that goes to the exhaust variable timing solenoid. We need to disconnect the wiring harness from the upper valve cover. Okay, perfect, like that. What we need to do next, we need to remove the ignition coils, so that those gray things, okay, check this thing out, you need to pull them all the way to the back, then you press in the middle, okay, and you disconnect it. So we do that to all 4 ignition coils, guys. Okay, so 10mm socket, we're going to disconnect that wiring harness that goes to the high pressure fuel pump. So that's what we're doing now. Okay, great. What else, guys? Now, this one, we can flip it, okay, on the side, so it's out of the way. At that point, okay, we need to remove the ignition coils. 10mm socket, just remove the bolt on each ignition coil. 4 bolts, 4 ignition coils, or the other way around. 4 ignition coils, 4 bolts. Then you can just simply grab the ignition coil, okay, and pull them out. At that point, most of the final work is done. Now we need to remove, I think, 22 bolts, quite a few bolts, guys, for the valve cover. So we're going to start, okay, with the ones in the middle. Let's start here. Okay, you have bolts that some people easily forget, and one of them is hard to miss. This side right there. Okay, here this one, and we go to the outside. So now we're just removing all of the bolts. Make sure you don't drop anything in the high pressure fuel pump holder, because you'll go directly in the camshaft and that can cause engine damage. And careful not to drop your bolts too. Alright, you grab each one of the bolts, easily remove them, because if they fall you can easily lose them as well. We have 2 more for the fuel pump right here that we need to remove. Okay, and this one too. Now we have 2 more that we need to remove right here. Perfect. Now you will leak some oil out, be prepared. Ours been sitting for a while, so we won't have so much engine oil up here. Need to pull a little bit of room. Okay, to get it out gently. Okay. Okay, perfect. This is, guys, the valve cover gasket. That's what the engine looks like as well. In order to remove the crankshaft pulley, guys, okay, there is a special tool that most people recommend to use, okay, because without it, okay, you can have a really hard time, okay, removing that pulley. And let me explain, okay, what the tool looks like. You will need to remove your intake manifold, remove the engine starter. We have the special video on the channel how to remove intake manifold and engine starter. Check it out if you need help with that. And then you have that special tool that goes where the engine starter is, okay, and it holds the flywheel so it doesn't move. The other tool, guys, that you can use, okay, it can go on the flywheel from underneath the oil pan, that you can use it as well. If you don't have any of those tools, I will not recommend to do the job, but what we use here, and again, don't need to do it, guys, okay, with the belt still installed, we get an air impact, okay, and with the compressor, you just are going to take it loose. Now, you will not be able to torque it correctly later, so I'll recommend still to get the tool, but we've done it multiple times with the impact. We haven't had a problem, but doesn't mean that you will not have one. So we pre-loosen ours already. Now that's the tensioner. We can go ahead, remove the belt, and once we remove the belt, we can continue with the next step to remove that that pulley right here. Okay, perfect, just like that. So let's go ahead, okay, get this one loose. It should be just almost like hand tight. The impact got it loose, so now we're going to go ahead, okay, and get it loose with a little impact now. Yeah, right there, and it came out. Now your timing chain will not skip or anything like that. It's not like one of those Mazda 4 designs where with the moment you take this one off, the timing is completely done, okay, and you should definitely follow timing procedures. No, this one is not, because that's a keyed pulley and you have key timing chain components you can see on the back side, okay, right there. So that's how we remove the pulley. Now next for the timing cover, okay, according, guys, okay, to our experience and even almost any manual that you can find, you can remove the cover itself, okay, without removing the oil pan, but resealing it, okay, you may have troubles having an oil leak later. So it's recommended to remove the oil pan and then remove the timing cover, because otherwise you can easily, guys, develop oil pan, valve cover leak, timing cover leaks that you will have to redo the work again in the future, and you probably don't want to do that work twice, guys, believe me, because that takes quite a bit of work. So we'll go ahead next step and remove the oil pan. So now for the oil pan, guys, let's explain what we need to do right here with the engine removed. We can clearly, guys, show you what we need to do. You don't need to remove your AC compressor. We'll need to remove, okay, the bolts right here underneath, the two bolts, okay, that hold the AC compressor, because they mount to this bracket that mounts to the timing cover and the engine block. And that mount will come off, will need to come off, because we have hidden bolts underneath as well. So 12mm socket, and we're going to remove the two bolts for the AC compressor there. Okay, check it out. Perfect, they're out. Now, next step, we have these bolts right here, again with the 12mm socket, big ones that we need to remove. We'll need to get an extension, and that's the one that holds the bracket, okay, you can see, in place. Let's go ahead, do that. Two, so we have, I think we have 4 bolts. Number 3 right there in the middle and 1 on the other side. Oh, almost. Perfect, that's number 4. Now that mount will come off, you can see like that. Later, make sure to stand to the end. We will explain one of the best silicone to reseal it. That black one is terrible, I personally don't like it, and I'll recommend the one that the manufacturers use quite often as well, that gray one. Okay, it's my favorite, it's our favorite. Now, guys, here we need to remove, we have actually 2 huge bolts with a 12-point socket, guys. Okay, I think it's a 12-point socket, 2 of them, that actually those bolts, guys, they mount all the way in the engine block, and they're quite long. So we'll need to go ahead, remove those. You may start leaking engine oil. Now, we forgot to say, but you need to drain your engine oil before you start working on that. Make sure you don't have engine oil in the oil pan. How you drain the oil, okay, with the engine in the vehicle. Make sure it's cool. Remove the drain plug right here and drain the oil. We already pre-drained ours. That's pretty simple procedure. So again, make sure you drain yours. Then you get a 10mm socket, guys, and you start going all the way around. Okay, and we're going to start removing them, okay, all the bolts now. So let's do that now. We'll explain where every bolt is located, how many bolts you have and all that stuff. Some of those don't come out due to the fact that there is actually silicone sealant, engine sealant. So let me show you where we are. Okay, trying to visualize it now. Let's start with the transmission side there. Let me see if we can come on this side. Okay, removing these bolts now. Next, okay, let me show you where those are. You can kind of like see those here. On the back side we have the exhaust manifold and everything removed. We missed one right here. I can see it. Now that oil pan may be really stuck depending on the silicone and all that stuff, so ours started coming loose, but if it's really stuck you might get a screwdriver and pry it out once you remove all the bolts. Make sure all the bolts are out, otherwise you can break things. And later if you bend the oil pan, it's metal one, it's fine. You can always straighten it because it's metal pan. Okay, perfect. Now we'll grab ours. We shouldn't have too much oil left, just a little bit. Perfect. And okay, you can see the oil pan came out. Now the correct thing to do, okay, let's get the silicone, the sealant. I'll show you what we use. You need to clean when you're ready to install that oil pan. Clean everything here really good. Make sure all that stuff on the inside come out. Always apply on the inside, okay, and around the bolts a little bit as well. but make sure you have on the inside for sure, and go a little bit around the bolts. Clean the engine block and the timing cover as well. Clean everything with rubbing alcohol and make sure it's not greasy at all. It's super dry, clean, shiny. The open as well, and that's the silicone that we use, the high temp gray silicone. That's amazing, guys. I'll put a link in the description of the video below where you can get it from. We use it on multiple BMW Porsche vehicles for a long time, and we haven't had any problems. It holds up to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a gasket maker or dressing as well. So you can see that's how you guys do it. So now the water pump, guys, right here, you need to pre-loosen these 3 bolts before you remove the belt. That's a good idea to watch the video before you do things, so you see what mistakes we make. But if you pre-loosen these 3 bolts with a wrench, when you have the belt, the pulley will not be spinning. Now we have the engine out, so we can clearly use the impact, which makes things way easier than having it in the engine bay, but it's still practically the same procedure. You will need to just get them loose before you remove the belt. Perfect. Now let's start with the headwork pulley, tensioner pulley. We need to remove those as well. We'll need to remove the mount for the engine mount. Now this one is actually this one was reverse threaded, guys, bolt. Okay, right here, that's a reverse threaded bolt. Okay, and let's go ahead, get it loose. Okay, let's see. Okay, perfect. Reverse threaded, just remember that. Great. You need to remove the pulley in order to remove the tensioner, because underneath it you have one 10mm bolt that you cannot get. That's a normal threaded bolt right here after that. So that's a regular bolt, but when you remove the tensioner, I want to show you one specific place where you should place it once you remove it, guys. Otherwise, okay, if you install it, guys, at the wrong place, later you have problems. The tensioner has one, okay, high spot. Let me focus here quick, right there, and it goes, okay, in that hole, okay, over there. So make sure you place it there later. Let's remove the bracket for the engine mount right here. So 14mm socket here, and we're going to remove 4 bolts. Okay, that's bolt number 4. Perfect. Now, since we have that 14mm socket, we'll keep using it, and oh, those are 12. Those are 12. We need to get a 12 now. And all these bolts, the fat ones, they're with 12. This one you don't need to remove it. I think this one stays like that. We'll check, but we'll see. I think this one stayed. Perfect. Okay, all of them are out. Now 10mm after that, we're going to switch to 10mm. And there is one trick to removing that timing cover. Many people will break it, and we'll explain why. We used to break 1 or 2 in the past, so we learned that the hard way, and we want to share our experience with you guys. Okay, so looking at it, you have 2 metal guides right here, one over there, one over here. If you get penetrating spray, you can spray them and let them soak. Always try to apply a little bit of pressure where the guides are, okay, and wiggle it. Because if you bend too much, that's aluminum that cracks super easily, guys. Ours came out easy, but you can have so much corrosion, okay, and so much silicone that it can be really stuck. Like this one, it has quite a bit of corrosion, you can see. Clean them good and lubricate them. Okay, and wipe them again before we install things together. Every time you remove that timing cover, you need to clean all that silicone, guys. Clean it really good, scrape it really good, and clean it with rubbing alcohol. The same thing you need to do, okay, to the engine block and the cylinder head. You need to clean everywhere really good. And we use the gray silicone, which is amazing. We'll put a link in the description of the video below, guys. Once everything is clean, you're going to apply on the inner side of the bolts, okay, on the inner side of the bolts everywhere, okay, right here and on this bolt as well. Don't forget this bolt, okay, and this one bolts, the inner bolts, go around, okay, everything should be clean, apply, and you're ready to put it on. You can see, but that's how you guys remove the timing cover. If you need to remove timing chain components, remove cylinder head, or if you just need to fix an oil leak on the timing cover. So you can see we got to that point, okay, valve cover has been removed, timing cover, oil pan, all that is out, guys. Now for the timing chain, I'll recommend, guys, to replace not just the main timing chain and components. We recommend to replace the oil pump timing chain, and this chain also is for the oil pump and the balance shaft. So it's very important to replace that one as well, especially the tensioner, okay, and the components around it. The chain itself rarely stretches there, but we recommend at least to replace the tensioners, guys, tensioner arm and the guide as well, because they can malfunction from all that heat, okay, they can become fragile, the tensioner can actually fail itself and not keep enough tension on the oil pump chain, and you can lose oil pressure. Now we'll demonstrate how to remove everything from start to finish, so stay with us. We'll explain how to do that. We'll need to actually even remove the oil pump. So next we're going to remove the timing chain, okay. So now, okay, let's verify now something, guys. We're at the TDC point, top dead center. How you can verify that? Okay, you can put, okay, the timing cover. We can put that timing cover, and you can, okay, get it on. Okay, perfect, like that. There are two ways people do them. One is a TDC and ready to install the new chain later. Okay, perfect, like that. Or the other one is, you can see the T mark right here needs to match with that tooth on the marked pulley. Or the other screw that they do, guys, okay, they bring and they remove the spark plugs. You bring the engine to all the pistons to be even. That way you cannot bend any valves, which you can do as well. But later when you're installing the chain, okay, there is some things that you need to do. So now we can do both ways, guys. We recommend, okay, to go in the middle. So now we have the spark plugs removed on all the cylinders, so we're going to go ahead and verify all the pistons are in the middle. This one, number 1 and 4 are up, so let's turn the engine. Turn. Okay, like that, up. Okay, the pistons are down. That means, guys, okay, that actually now the pistons are in the middle. So if something goes wrong, you're not going to bend the valve easily. Okay, but you need to check out the video about the timing marks and the timing chain installation. That's going to teach you how to avoid costly damage to your engine. So we're going to remove the timing cover here, okay, and we can go ahead and remove now the timing chain tensioner, because otherwise, if you have the TDC, sometimes what can happen if you accidentally jump the timing on the camshafts, okay, the valves are spring loaded and you can bend things, guys. So you can bend valves and you don't want that to happen. Okay, tensioner is out. We're going to go ahead, remove the guide, the tensioner arm guide right here. So one bolt, 10mm. Perfect, we can pull that one out. Then we have 1, 2, 3 bolts right there that we need to remove. Alright, perfect. Now that timing chain will come out. Okay, that's the main timing chain. You can just lift it up, guys. Perfect, just like that. Next, what do we need to do? Oil pump chain. Okay, let's go ahead and remove the tensioner arm and the guide as well. Okay, that's tensioner. Okay, you need to wipe everything. It can come out. Okay, it's just has a spring inside. This is not even a hydraulic tensioner. Okay, this tensioner is just spring loaded, that's it. Nothing else. The other one, this is a hydraulic tensioner that's controlled by oil pressure. This one is not. So that's why it's a good idea to replace it as well, and not just the main timing chain, okay, when you do that job. So now, okay, you can see everything is marked because this is the oil pump and the counterbalance shaft that makes your engine extremely smooth. Otherwise you have terrible vibrations, okay, if you don't set everything correctly later. So definitely guys, we'll have a video how to set the timing marks and install the timing chain. Now, in order to remove that timing chain, we need to remove the oil pump. You cannot remove the timing chain without removing the oil pump, and you cannot do it no matter what you do. Never remove that nut because everything is here where it's supposed to be. Otherwise, okay, the counterbalance shaft can spin, and what will happen, you will not be able to balance your engine, and you will need to buy a new new oil pump and balance shaft assembly. So 12mm socket. Now oil pump bolts will be extremely tight, okay, so be prepared guys for that. Okay, extremely tight, and after that they will loosen up a little bit. That's a 12-point socket, 12mm 12-point socket. Okay, 1 second, I'm trying to show you where all the bolts are. Okay, now we're going to get the ratchet guys, okay, the impact, and we're going to remove them. You can leak oil out. That oil pump assembly is heavy. On the last bolt it's important to hold it and remember where you move the bolts from, because they need to go in exactly in the same order, okay, that you remove them. Perfect. Okay, it's getting there. So the last bolt, we need to hold the pump, remember? Okay, check this thing out, how long that bolt is. Perfect. Now let's see if it's going to start getting loose. Okay. Now, okay, now let's see if it's still holding. I think we have one bolt somewhere. Right there. One bolt. It's still there. We forgot one. We forgot to pre-loosen it as well. So 7 bolts that we have that hold it in place. Alright, now on that last one we need to hold the oil pump. It's going to come loose. So now we're going to get the pump come in an angle, okay, that drop the back side down, and when we do that we're going to get the chain out, okay, timing chain out, okay, and that's the oil pump assembly with the balance shaft. Now that's the sprocket for the main timing chain. This is the sprocket with the other timing chain for the oil pump, okay, you can see just like that. So that's how you guys remove the timing chain, the whole timing chain kit, okay. The next, we'll have a video on the channel. Next video will be timing marks and timing chain installation on Kia Sportage Sorento 2.4 GDI engine. Check it out if you need help with that. It's going to teach you step by step how to put it together with the torque specs and everything, guys. Now if you need to buy a new timing chain kit components, check out the link in the description of the video below and you can see where we got ours from. So next step, we're going to be removing the camshafts, guys. Every time you get to that point to remove, replace anything like cylinder heads, camshafts, anything that involves removing the timing chain, in my opinion, it's recommended to replace the oil pump timing chain as well, not just one of them. So go ahead, guys, okay, and do that so you don't regret it later. Now, how we're going to remove camshafts, okay, let's explain. This is the intake side, this is the exhaust side. That's where the car is getting its air and fuel from. The exhaust side is where the exhaust manifold is. So at that point, let's explain how we're going to remove everything. You can see there is multiple bolts, and there is a certain way that you need to remove those. So now first we're going to remove the mount for the direct fuel injection pump, 12mm socket, 3 bolts, perfect. Okay, and every bolt, everything that you need to remove needs to go exactly in the same order that you remove it. Every time you remove the camshafts, guys, you have to be careful not to mess up the valve lifters because they are specific to each valve, otherwise you have to readjust them, which is a pain, guys. So make sure you don't drop the valve lifters. First we're going to do, okay, that cap, okay, that's the one, towards. Okay, let's get new battery. Probably the battery is dead for our impact. That right here, guys, okay, that cap that's holding the camshafts towards the timing chain, that's the one that actually, guys, okay, need to come out first. And those might be quite tight because that's a 12mm socket, okay. Perfect. And one more. Make sure all the bolts, and make sure you don't drop anything inside the engine. If you do and you don't notice it, guys, you put it together, okay, you're done. You may end up needing a new engine. So take your time, be careful, don't rush things, guys, because you may regret it later. So just wiggle it a little bit, okay, and it will come out. Perfect, just like that. Now, right here, guys, we need to start on this side with these caps. Okay, let's start with one camshaft first. So, or both of them at the same time. Now we need to remove these 2 caps. Okay, on the very right side of the engine, facing it. You need to put a box, something to organize everything in the same order that you remove them. Then you go to these ones here, that's group number 2. Group number 3 now here. And then you go to group number 4. Perfect. Now, the camshaft caps need to be organized in specific way that you remove them, guys. Otherwise, I said, okay, you can mess things up. So this one is a little bit stuck, it came out. Okay, this one is holding a little bit here, the bolt is holding. I will not be able to remove that bolt here. Okay, now the bolt's still holding a little bit. Okay, perfect, it came out. Great. Now we're going to organize them exactly in the same order that we removed them, so you don't regret it later, guys. Okay, we have just 2 more, and remember, the valve lifters need to stay in. If you remove them only one at a time, okay, if you're swapping heads or something like that, because otherwise they have specific thickness for each valve, and if you mess them up, you have to spend quite a bit of time trying to find out which one is where and measuring and all that stuff. Intake, exhaust camshaft came out of the engine, you can see just like that. So now what do we need to do, guys? Okay, we need to continue with the next step for removing the cylinder head gasket. We'll be spilling some fuel, things like that, so we have to be extremely careful, guys, because fuel injectors here, coolant system is already drained. Okay, so let's just go ahead. Okay, we need to go ahead, okay, and remove Okay, the thermostat housing right here, check it out. Thermostat housing attaches to the cylinder head, guys. It needs to come out so we can remove the cylinder head. There is one bracket here that holds a vacuum hose, and this one, okay, if you look at this one, okay, this one is actually tight. One nut is tight, and we have one bolt here that somebody cross-threaded, guys. Check this thing out. It's all the way sideways, so we need to go ahead, remove that one, and let's get the tools in. We'll continue. So be careful not to cross thread them. You can see how bent that bolt is. It's going in an angle. That's not good. Okay, so yeah, right there. Let me grab it quick. Okay, right on the floor. So the nut. Okay, that vacuum hose will come out. Now, that thermostat housing. Okay, here, oh, right here we found a nut, actually. So, if you look at it, above the thermostat housing, you have the purge valve right here. You can go in the middle, okay, with a screwdriver, okay, and bend the middle clip out, in. Okay, so you can pull that purge control valve out. That's the one that I told you need to bend down. Then you need to level it up, bring it up, okay, with the pliers when you install it so it can click and stay in place. Here that will stay with it. Okay, but now I need to get a 12mm socket so we can remove the thermostat housing. Yes, 3 bolts for that thermostat housing where it attaches to the cylinder head. Every time you remove it, put a new gasket, guys. You will thank us later, because those gaskets fail, and if you reuse them, you'll develop a coolant leak from the cylinder head that can be, okay, catastrophic for your engine. So right here one, okay, let's remove that one first. That's very convenient. 12mm, perfect. Okay, you can see how long the bolt is. We should have 3 bolts. Okay, that's that thing here. You push down on that clip. The other one you push up to get the wiring harness out. We have another 12mm here. I thought we have 3 bolts. Let me see. Oh, it's only 2. Make sure that it's. I really do believe that we have. Yeah, we need to have one more bolt somewhere. Okay, let me see. Okay, on this side right here. It's a nut, actually, the last one. Okay. 2 bolts in a nut. Okay, and this nut, we will need to get a wrench, guys. Okay, and it will be easier if we remove it with a wrench. Or we need to remove, you can see here, the hose for the throttle body so we can get to it, one of the 2. So, let's get the wrench now. Okay, perfect. You can see where that nut is. Once you usually break those things loose, they will go pretty easily after that. So that's what we'll be doing next. You can see the whole cylinder head assembly. Again, be careful not to drop your valve lifters when you remove the head. If you put it upside down, they'll fall out and you have extra 3 hours probably work, guys, trying to find out which one goes where and to readjust all of them, because that takes quite a bit of time, so don't do that. So let me see if we can grab this one. Yep. Perfect. This nut is here. Now right here we have the sensor that we need to disconnect for the exhaust camshaft position sensor. We have one wiring harness. Okay, right here. Let me pull that one. Now that thermostat housing mostly should come out. Let's see if something else is holding here. Okay, the pipe right here, that pipe, guys, okay, that goes in the coolant water pump. You need to wiggle it. Okay, a little bit more. It has a big O-ring that's stuck and we'll recommend to replace it. Okay. Okay, right there. That's the O-ring that goes in it. You can see that O-ring, guys. Okay. It's quite a bit of a headache, but that's how you guys do it. Okay, perfect. Now we have to make sure that we don't lose all our components here. You can see the thermostat housing gaskets. Okay, we have 2 of them. If you don't replace them, you can easily develop a leak, and that could be catastrophic. So, intake, camshaft position sensor, removing that one as well. We need to disconnect all of the fuel injectors, all of them, or we can remove the fuel injectors. Okay, one of the, well, in each case, okay, we can remove them. So now, how do you guys remove them? If we remove them, okay, here we have a bolt. So it's up to you whether you're removing the cylinder head with injectors or not. We need to go ahead and remove the bolt right there for the that holds the fuel line in place. Perfect. Then you always have fuel in the fuel rails. You have to be extremely careful. I'll go ahead and disconnect the fuel rail pressure sensor right there. 3 bolts that we need to remove for the fuel rail. 1, 2, 3. Now, right here, you're going to just gently pull on each side. Okay, you can see just like that. Perfect, that's a fuel rail. Fuel injectors right here. Now, you can disconnect them, okay, by pressing down on that gray piece. Okay, like that. Then press here. And sometimes you have to press, okay, pull the gray piece out, check this thing out. Now press in on the clip, then press down and pull it out, otherwise they get stuck. Okay, really bad. Okay, perfect. Now, those fuel injectors, if you need to remove them, some may be stuck, some may come out real easy, so it's up to you guys what we'll be doing at that point. You might need to grab them with pliers to turn some of them. Okay, you can see 2 came out easily, but they have quite a bit of build-up. 2 didn't so much. So, next step, we need to get the cylinder head loose. That's what's going to be a little bit of a excitement there, because that cylinder head will be extremely tight. So now we need to hold everything down. Here we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bolts, and we need to remove them in specific sequence, guys, the opposite of how we install them. So we're getting this one is a triple square socket, guys, triple square socket. We'll put the link in the description of the video below, M12. Now you remove them in reverse order that you install them. So we start with bolt number 1 right here now. And those will be tight, guys, quite tight. Okay, we go to bolt number 2 in that very corner right there. You need to hold the engine because it will spin. So you'll get your workout for the day, I guarantee you there. The bigger the cheater pipe is, the better it is. Number 3 we go right here. Perfect. Number 4 we go to the next one, okay, all the way in the corner. Almost. Now 6 more. We come to number 5, okay, over here. It's very important how you remove the number, okay, 6 we go to over there. Yep, perfect. 7 we come to this one. 8 to the other one in the corner. We have after that 9 right here, and then 10. Good job. Now one more left, guys, and we can use the little impact to unscrew them, so we don't need to do that by hand. Okay, perfect. Now, okay, let's explain. Okay, we need to get the impact now, and we need to just unscrew them. That point doesn't matter which one you do, because the cylinder head is already loose. It's just important in the beginning, so you don't, until you initially get them loose, so you don't actually rub the cylinder head. Okay, now these two guys, okay, you remove the bolts first, okay, and after the bolts you can grab, okay, the washer. These two bolts are the only ones where the washer comes after the bolt, okay, and when you install them, the washer is the first thing that goes. Okay, and it's recommended to get pliers, guys, because you don't want to be hunting for that piece everywhere. Okay, one is out. Now this one here. Okay, I'm trying to catch it, but I can't with the bolt. Okay, the other bolts, you just pull them out, and the washer is installed on the bolt, pressed in, so you cannot, okay, you cannot get those wrong. So let's go ahead and remove all of them now. We just have a little bit more left. If we get the pliers, it's a little bit easier, because they're so oily that everything is slippery. Two more, and you will leak some coolant from the head gasket. Probably you still have some coolant in the cylinder head, depending on how well we drained and what angle it was and all that stuff. So if we grab the cylinder head now, okay, we should be able to just put it on the box there. Nothing else should be holding it. Let's see. Alright, perfect. Cylinder head, the gasket is right here, guys. That's your gasket. Okay, now every time you install new gasket, you need to clean the engine block really good, okay, and the cylinder head. And if you want to see the video how to clean cylinder head, engine block, it's on our main channel, Auto Repair, guys, where most of the mechanical videos will be. Check it out, and it will teach you everything step by step. That's how you guys remove, okay, or replace cylinder head gasket. We'll have a special video about the torque specs and sequence for the cylinder head gasket and the cylinder head bolts, guys, so check it out. All that will be on our channel, and we'll have a video about installing the timing chain components, how to set timing, and timing marks and timing chain installation. All that is on our channel, guys, for Kia Sportage, Kia Sorento. So hopefully the video will be helpful. Thank you for watching, and see you guys next time.